important to us as far as the TOD is concerned, and getting you guys on the same page is critical. It is going to take some time to do that, and we've tried to put some processes into place to make that happen. So, just looking at the Grade 3 leagues, how many in the room are Grade 3? How many are Grade 2? Good. Okay, so... Oh, I'm grade 3 and above, if you like. If you want to buy your own trumpet, you can. Just to give you some background around the Grade 3 leagues course and what that's shaping to look like moving forward, is there was a general consensus amongst the TOD and some of the advisors that we work with that we need to get some of our referee coaches into the process a little bit quicker. And that means with our Grade 2, is that actually and actually the 12 months experience, we're actually dropping that, so it's minimum Grade 2 referee coach. But the idea is that the Big V pre-season, the Grade 2 referee coaches will come to the Big V pre-season, and also the current referee coaches group, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But we believe that hands-on experience is the best way to get referees up to the competencies. Okay, so at the Big V pre-season, I'm looking at theory of a couple of hours, ongoing mentoring with the referee coach to coach that we'll talk a little bit about later, to bring people up to the right competencies to be able to referee coach leagues. As a Grade 2, you will be able to referee coach BJBL. As a Grade 2 at Big V, you'll be mentored until you become a Grade 3. Okay, so we're just restructuring that a little bit to try and bring us on all together on the same page. The assessors will complete job forms. Okay, so, and the assessors will work with you over a 2-game period on Big V, where you'll actually referee coach one game and they'll referee coach the other. And at the end, the assessor will do a job form and that will come back to the TOD. If it's seen that the competencies are there and moving in the right direction, then we'll wave the magic wand and then you'll become a Grade 3 leagues coach and you'll be appointed solo to those games. Okay? As I said, we'll review results and advise successful candidates quarterly. The current league coaches, which is most of you guys in the room, we do want to see you guys at the Big V Action Day, which is on the 10th and 11th. 11th to 12th, 10th and 11th. 10th and 11th of March. Pre-season tournament, yes, pre-season. What we're looking to do at that tournament is one of the biggest complaints when it comes to referees, which we'll talk a little bit about later, is inconsistency in scoring. And the Big V pre-season is about trying to calibrate and trying to bring the scores a little bit closer together. And we have done some work in that space around the job form. And believe it or not, there's not a lot of change to the actual job form, but we've included a little bit of extra wording to try and help bring the scores a little bit closer together. Okay? And also too, through the Big V season, pre-season, you all sit together and watch a game and then come back into this room and then basically look at the scoring and how that looked. You know, what did Daniel give versus what did, you know, Alan Manhire give? And why is the difference? So Alan Godwin's going to run that for the current referee coaches, which is really good. I'll just hand over to Jo. She's going to talk a little bit about the Big V roster.
Yeah, it's super fast this time.
Yeah.
So as with the referees, I'll put out an availability once a month. Any changes to that before the roster goes out, just email me. Obviously, we need you more than you need me, so I'm happy to accommodate where I can. Last year, I just pretty much put people wherever I could. I didn't have much knowledge as to why to put a particular referee coach to a particular game. I now have that skill set. So obviously it depends on the number of referee coaches available, the region that they're in, their willingness to travel and their experience. So we often have a lot of referees from the same sort of area, none of them willing to travel. I don't need 5 referees on that particular, referee coaches on that game. So it will then come to how often they're available and their experience. Sometimes with the coach to coach, there'll be some buddying and things like that and work within that system as well. And the dress code, is neat casual whilst keeping warm, and we are organising jackets for the new referee coaches. Those who don't already have a jacket just needs to let Nathan know. Pardon?
We haven't had them for years.
Yeah, that's my understanding. So I think there's a distinction between VJBL jackets that a lot of you will have and no big V jackets. I think is that the fairly consensus. So as we mentioned with the referee side of things is we are in a transition process of organising suppliers and who Basketball Victoria is going forward with, not us as a department but the whole organisation. So we're a little bit hamstrung in one sense, so we're trying to come up with solutions that aren't too financially impacting on either department or obviously yourselves, but still cater to the requirements of having a identifier. So we're just working on that. We will have more information as we go.
Basically, Big V have got a contract with Champion, and that ceases at the end of this year.
Basketball Victoria has a contract with Champion.
Yeah,
Big
is
V
there
has
also
a contract with Black
Yeah,
Crow.
and they have Black Crow. So there's different
VJBL has a different one again.
sponsorships. So
Yes,
they're trying to
that's
put
what
them
we're
all
working
together, and so we don't want to go out and buy a whole lot of jackets that will only last for the one season if it all changes.
So we're kind of asking for, I suppose, some patience and an allowance to wear.
Just as
black
a
jacket
straw
more.
poll, who would
Prefer a jacket to a
Correct.
hoodie,
Hoodie.
/ wind cheater / zip. So
who would
jacket.
prefer a jacket?
Told you.
Love it. Shall we ask the
Can you
question?
delete that?
Who would prefer a hoodie? Hello, I asked the question. Who would prefer a hoodie?
Henry, put your hand down.
Timothy, did you see that?
Yes.
Did you see that?
No, we're asking the referees the same question. I reckon they would have put their hands up for hoodies.
Yes, it's a demographic thing. 40 plus.
Bit of professionalism,
As you can
Tim.
tell, we had a bit of discussion about this.
The other thing just for me to touch on is that obviously last year I was getting out referee coach rosters sometimes an hour before the game. I will do my best to improve that system, and I'm looking at fortnightly at the moment. So again, I'm continually in development with the system I use and everything that's going on. So as always, I appreciate patience and understanding. Yep, there are your rates. So I don't think that's changed. No, it hasn't. But what we are looking for the following year, we tried it for this year and didn't quite get there, is travel, pay for coach travel. So that's something that we would like to try and push for, which is why obviously a lot of you are restricted in what you're prepared to do because it comes out of your pocket. So hopefully, again, you just understand that we are working as best as we can to support you guys more. It's just a timing thing. And the pays are based on the job forms. So you can do a game, you don't do the job form, we've got no record of it, we don't pay you.
Okay.
So it's a pretty straightforward system, at least we know. And Nathan has an extremely good process now where your pays will be coming through a lot more frequently than I think they have in previous years. I think sometimes you've gone a whole year and then got a lump sum at the end. So hopefully that'll happen in line with the referee pays, either fortnightly to monthly. I think at the moment, aren't you, Matt? Yeah. Awesome. Okay, and network. Honestly, I worked for lots of organisations. This one's top notch. So, thank you all. Okay.
Bye.
All right, guys, so we're going to do a workshop, and rather than do that, I'd rather probably ask questions to the floor. And we need to know, or we need to have a think about the type of referees that we're working with. So I want some good and not so good characteristics from the floor. Who are we actually dealing with out there?
Young people.
Kids? Talk to us a little bit about some of the behaviours of some of our referees. What are they trying, where are they at Leeds? Me. Now we're on the right track. What else?
Lazy.
Yeah, well, I don't think from a Big B level or a league level they're probably here to be lazy, but yes, I think when someone's not watching, then that's always a possibility. What else? Yep.
Got referees that think they know more than you know.
Yes, that's a good one. Yeah, probably should add that one to the list, push.
They like to work with technology, so they want proof, they want to see things.
Yeah,
videos.
that's good. Yeah, they like to see things, they're visual. Yeah, okay. Yeah, good. Great.
They believe they're entitled to things. So
Oh,
if they've
love
made
that
an
one.
effort, they're entitled to be panel one.
Oh, I'm better than what I am. Okay? So that's some really good feedback. We'll have a look at some of the ones that we come up with. What do we think are the referee's key complaints about other referee coaches? Let's throw it down.
Inconsistency.
Inconsistent. We're inconsistent as a group. What else?
Too much information.
Sorry?
Too much information.
Too much information, yeah?
Not relevant information.
Too harsh, yeah?
Too many replays to figure
Yeah,
out.
lots
Don't
of
actually
clips,
make a decision
Lots
on
of
live.
clips. Don't have a decision.
Live, and then they just watch it 15 times and say, gotcha.
Okay?
No relevance. No relevance to help improve the
Yeah, no relevance.
Don't give constructive criticism.
Yep.
Don't give
Did
bad
any
bill.
referee want to agree with them?
Yes. Yeah, pushback.
Only pick on the negatives.
Yeah, only pick
They
on the
can see a problem,
negatives.
but you've got to give them a solution to that problem.
Yeah, yeah. We are all responsible for retention. Because how we deliver a post game depends on where that referee's going to come back next week. And if you're the type of referee coach that goes in that room and goes da 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 to a kid, then is that really going to help them come back the next week? I want us to have a little bit of a think about that when we're giving our post games. Okay? Making sure that we are thinking about retention. Because a lot of the reasons why referee coaches do leave is also too around the referee coaching piece. And yeah, sure, some referees try and referee to referee coaches, well that's their problem. But we want to make sure that we are delivering the post game in a positive way. Here's some of the things that we came up with. Referee key characteristics: self-centered, defensive, wants success now. Okay, questions authorities, decisions, comments value, praise, limited commitment, but want everything. Okay, believe they have rights. Okay, so we need to understand our audience as far as who we're actually dealing with. These are the referee complaints that we come up with.
Tim,
Yep.
there's one key, one missing: quantity of information. You can't bombard them. They'll only take one or two things away at max.
Yep. Yep, absolutely, and we'll come to that. That's really good. Not too far.
Just let it go.
Maybe.
Okay. Accuracy, inconsistency with feedback, incorrect use of terminology is a big one. Scoring inconsistencies, which we spoke about. Scores don't reflect comments. Okay, late drop forms. And the last one there, what was that one?
Inappropriate comments.
Yeah, inappropriate
We
comments.
need one of them to run the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Why don't you do it, Bill?
I'll show you how to do it 2 minutes fine.
Well, you're the boss, you've got to teach.
Yeah, I know, I'll show him how to do it.
We do get. Yeah, go, Kaz.
You brought up the referee complaints. I don't want the referee coaches to now suddenly feel that there is a report form on them and then you're going to be under constant
Yeah, we'll come to
scrutiny.
that.
This is only if there is a trend. Because we all know whether they're a young referee and an old referee, they'll try and bitch about you to say, I got a poor score not because I did a bad job, but because the referee was inconsistent, or that's not what they told me, or that's not what I was told last time. So bear in mind, this will be quantified by the fact that anything that comes in will be based on a trend. Don't suddenly think a referee is going to go in there and complain about you, we're going to go, right, we're going to look at this referee coach, they're under scrutiny. It will only if it becomes a trend.
It's also too for us is if we're getting, and the other one that happens a lot is the mix, is the indifferent in feedback. They get one referee coach who tells them you need to do it this way, and they get the other referee coach and says you need to do it this way. That's good feedback for us from the referee because we can go, hang on, this is coaching. Okay, so if we've got two different opinions from two referees, we can put up on our Facebook page and we can actually give a directive. Now we're all on the same page.
I'm not sure if you're aware, but plenty of referees actually look at who their thing is. They get their old sheet out and then they go and ref to that person.
Yeah. Basically going to come to that as well.
Yeah.
That's really good.
The other one I think too is that the comments in the post game aren't reflective of the report.
Yep.
So sometimes something pops up in the report that wasn't discussed or wasn't raised.
Absolutely. We only want you to evaluate what's live. Okay? At the end of the day, the iPad is really a backup for you, and Bill's going to actually touch on this anyway, as far as the what he wants you guys to mainly concentrate on when it comes to referee coaching anyway. Pre-games, introduce yourself, be approachable and supportive, don't drive discussions, let them talk, discuss. Attendance is not compulsory. We talked a lot about this as a TAD about whether referee coaches should actually be in pre-games or not. Okay? We're saying to you guys that it is that it's not compulsory. Okay? And also too, we're keeping the pre-games to 10 minutes as well. So we wanted them to feel a little bit more like they're in their natural environment, but also too, we're going to have new kids coming up to VJBL, also coming up to Big V. So there are times where we think it is beneficial that you are in the pre-game. Okay, I just want you guys to pick your audience as far as whether you should be there or not. And sure, they might contact you and say, listen, we'd like you to be in our pre-game. Sure, okay, I'll get there a bit earlier. That's fine. But we still want you to introduce yourself. Okay? At least arrive there enough time to be able to at least shake the referee's hands before you go and sit on the stand, or at least acknowledge them from afar and say, I'm here. Okay, that's pretty important. Post-game experience, and touched on a couple of these things already, but consistency is key. Don't coach what you don't know. Okay? I've been in post-games where referee coaches end up on a tangent, where they start getting lost and they start tripping on their words and they're coaching stuff they don't know about. And when we get down to the bottom one, which is around stick to basics and 3 to 4 positives, we don't need to give these guys a shopping list. Okay? All we want to do throughout the season is make them 1% better than what they were before. Okay, so ensuring that we're sticking to our principles as a referee coach, that we give them 3 to 4 positives to work on, and a couple 3 to 4 positives and a couple areas to work on. Keep it simple. Okay. Facilitate discussion. Okay, don't be the one that's driving the conversation all the time. Let them talk. And Bill will touch on a little bit about this a little bit later as well. Whilst I find it effective whilst reviewing clips pointing to the screen, that visual piece that we spoke about before, referees like to see themselves on video, and I know Bushy likes to get off his seat and go for a bit of a walk around the court, and especially with the younger kids, and have a look at some of their mechanics, run, trail, lead, some of their signals to the table, those sorts of things. We want to obviously look for trends, and one of the key ones that happens a lot is the old referee who likes to deflect blame. Okay? And it says on the next slide too, which sort of joins in a little bit, if you're in a post game, there's a referee that's being frustrated by your comments, leave them alone. Okay? All you need to do is focus, perhaps give that, if they're starting to feel a bit frustrated, maybe look at giving them some more positives. Because a lot of referees are defensive in post games. Okay, but if you're sensing that from the referee, then perhaps it's time to move on. Or pump them with positives, or maybe change your focus onto the other referee. Okay? Beware of the rookie evaluation. We all know what that means. We spend all our time talking to the rookie, but we don't spend any time talking to the more senior referee. Okay, we need to ensure that we're balancing our input for both referees and not concentrating on one. Craig?
We want scores and comments to match, but we want retention to be key.
Yep, correct.
So,
yep,
somewhere in that triangle, we're going to start missing some stuff, because we either need to, and we're putting a time limit on it. So, when you start sugarcoating some criticism, that adds time to your post game. If we're putting a 10-minute boundary on it, we're wanting scores to match the comments that we're making. We need to give them that. We need to give them the feedback that matches.
Yep.
And so, and if we want retention to be key, they're not coping with it.
Yep. And we'll talk about scores in a minute, because actually Bill and I have had some discussions around the scores about 7, -7, -1s, and those sorts of things as well. This is key. Post game's no longer than 20 minutes.
No.
That is key. Okay, gone are the days of an hour after the game. Gone are the days of half an hour. No more. Okay, and that will come through on the job forms if the post games are going a little bit further. If you want to go past the 20 minutes, then I suggest you probably talk to the referees about that. But at the end of the day, I think 20 minutes of information is probably enough. Okay? This is not our opportunity to walk in and display and put our big presentation on this. There's 20 minutes, 3 to 4 key areas to work on, 3 to 4 positive, 2 areas to work on. That's all you need to do.
You'd be right in saying most should be quicker than 20 minutes.
Yeah. Don't be afraid also too to actually have a discussion with the referees. You might not even show them any clips. Listen, I want to sit down, hey guys, let's have a talk about the game. And then 20 minutes up and go, hey guys, we'll send you the clips. You can have a look at them. As long as you cover off on the key points. Right, but if there is a clip and a trend that you want to refer to, then perhaps it is worth using visual to do that.
So Craig, what are you trying to say? What are you saying that it will take longer than 20 minutes?
What I'm saying is that if you've got some fairly, a referee who's not done well and who's not coping with the direct feedback, and is starting, and you providing them with opportunity to talk about what they've seen and they want to do that. If you start making it more direct and pushing, to get your points across, then you're going to lose that retention focus that you're talking about. You're going to offside the referee. I'm just saying, sometimes to give that negative feedback takes a little bit of time.
Constructive feedback, yeah.
Okay.
I think
I'm
it's good.
just going to say, you've answered your question, well, you'll have to push that feedback. If they're resistant to the feedback, then don't keep pushing.
Now I'm in the situation where my comments don't match my score.
Your report goes back to Bill would say, or Joe to say, this referee is not coachable on the bottom of the admin form.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
So if we see that as a trend, then we can start saying this is a referee's problem,
Yeah.
not a ref coach problem. That
Okay.
kind of thing.
I think it'd be good for Bill to touch on, because we all experience this, right? The referee comes in after the game and they've had a terrible game. How are we coaching that?
Oh, I'm no guru in terms of, but I mean, I think, the really good people who are able to do that in terms of the facilitating a discussion, where if you can get the honesty out of the referee to say that they don't think they had a very good game anyway, then I think you're sort of, you started on the right foot right from the very beginning. And then you don't need to list your 55,000 mistakes that they've made. It's just simply, you didn't have that good a game this week, and that, why not? Let's focus on a particular couple of areas that we can possibly improve on, that I think that you can actually pick up on pretty easily, rather than sort of listing the whole. It's a very fine line of. But if they don't own up to the mistakes, then you're in real trouble as well, because they don't believe. My thoughts are, you only get better if you admit to the fact that you've made a mistake. Now, I've experienced lots of referees who just refuse. And that's why we don't generally say to referee coaches who come in and say, how did you think you went? The referee goes, I think you're fantastic. I was sensational. And you go, holy shit, well, I didn't think you were. But, so you're giving them an option, all right, from the very. And I know referees would do that. They go, no, I'll just say I was great. So, that's why we try and get away from that sort of aspect of things. But if you can drag out of them the fact that, how did you think you went? Were you comfortable in the game? Did you notice a few of these? Now, really, to me, the whole coaching thing, and this is where it's so difficult, I believe, is the more prepared you are before you go into the room, the better off you are. And unfortunately, you don't get a lot of time to be prepared, and that's the difficulty. So in some ways, if the game isn't close, you can start to prepare your notes as to what you're going to do in the last 5 or 10 minutes before the game. at the end of the game. But if the game's close, you want to watch the things that happen in fairly crucial stages of the game. They're going to have an impact. But the more prepared you are, I find, the much better. I walk out of a post game and I go, shit, I was okay there because I had all the things marked that I wanted to say, and I brought them up, and they conversed with me, and we sort of promoted a discussion. The other times is when you walk in, the two examples are, when you sit at a game, and I'm sure this has happened to you before, you sit there in a game and you go, you haven't really marked anything down, and you go, oh shit, the last 10 minutes I just don't write down. And I'll guarantee you write down millions of things all about mechanics, because they're the easiest things to coach. They're the simple things that you can, you didn't hold your arm straight, you didn't move this way properly. And the bottom line of it is that all that important? Probably not. In terms of, I think that the coaching thing is, the fundamentals are the mechanics, and in terms of where you go on the floor, they're their basic fundamentals, and similarly with their signals. So if you can if they have those basic grounding fundamentals, just like a player, they have those fundamentals, then you can focus on more and more specific things. But if they don't have those fundamentals, then you have to probably focus on the fundamentals a little more.
Just from a referee's point of view, if you have nothing and we've done a good job, and you come in and start bringing up bullshit, everyone will turn off.
And they'll say it's bullshit.
We'll say it's bullshit.
Absolutely.
If we've actually, and we know we've done a good job, and there's 3 calls that we all want to look at, just go, look, there's 3 calls we want to look at, I think you did a good job, blah, 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 and 5 minutes, 10 minutes gone. Yeah. It's when people sit there and you sit there for 20 minutes and you're like, no, we handle that game, move on.
We'll touch on the scoring in a little bit, but can I just come back to your point, Craig? If I'm referee coaching and referees haven't done well in the game, I'm probably walking with a first positive and go, listen guys, you really worked hard out there to try and maintain control of that game. That'd be my first positive. And my second area that I would talk about is, where did it start to go wrong? And that's probably the area that I would concentrate on. Because you can sit there and go, well, you made 15 errors in this quarter, 16 errors, but I would probably just go back to where it all started and come undone, and actually try and work from there and go, so when you get to this point next time in your game, this is perhaps things that you might want to look out for. Perhaps. But there's no easy solution to that.
Tim, can I jump in? Pinch a line from John Holden, who probably was as close to God as I've worked with. He'd come in and he wouldn't act like God. He'd say, I'm happy to walk out of here and agree to disagree, but I want you to go away and think about it. Yep. So when you're getting pushback, I say, mate, that's okay, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. But go away and think about it, and rarely does it blow any, they come back, they go, well, you've been reasonable.
At the end of the day, we're coaches, but we're also their friends, and we're also part of the team. I think we've got to make sure that we're careful of that.
So just that team comment. So we're saying coming into pre-games, if you've done lots of games and you've seen a lot of players and teams, you can actually tell the referees, I've seen this team, and they do these sorts of things. You can actually be helpful and be part of the team, rather than sitting there going, ooh, did he say points of emphasis? Be part of the team and get the best job on the court.
Yeah. I think what's really important there too, I think you can tell in the game whether or not it's a skill set that the referee is lacking, or if it's a mental something that they're lacking. If it's a mental something, there may be something else happening in their life. Maybe they just broke up with a girlfriend, maybe mom and dad just started a fight, whatever the case may be, there's an effect for that game. I think that often, we have to look at the game collectively, and if it's a specific point where it started going wrong, how does that referee handle that mentally, and that mental edge, that's what they're lacking, because that's what contributed to the rest of the failures in the game.
The last thing we want, Jeff, is if 2 referees are going out and they've done a terrible job, and they walk in after the game, the last thing they want to do is hear it from you. Perhaps we just need to have a look there.
Just go back to your first 2. First one is, in the referee, when I referee coach and I'm bringing them together, I'm looking for those people to be coachable.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, when I sit down and talk to referees, I expect myself to be honest.
Yep.
And within that criteria of that 20 minutes, if I take 20 minutes, it's too long.
but certainly you've got to give the good and the bad as well.
Yeah. A lot of it's all in the delivery, isn't it?
Terry, you've got to be careful
And
though.
we'll respect you for it.
You've got to be careful about the generation you're dealing with, because I'll guarantee you, 90% of them aren't coachable. You know, as a comment to say, no, I'm not critical.
That's a good comment, but I think you're selling the kids short.
Oh, no. When I say they're not coachable, in our eyes, we walk away and we go, they're not coachable. But they will take in a lot of the things that you say, but they won't openly admit to that. So they're not going to sit there and go, oh yeah, I agree with you, yeah. That's bullshit. They're not going to do that. Because the generation is not like, they don't want to own up to making mistakes. So it's in my opinion, it's our job to say, listen, here's from my experiences, this is what I've tried in these sort of circumstances, or this is what I've done. Here, this, if you're picking on a particular call, you can just, and generally, I mean, it's not rocket science, it's either they didn't know the rule, their position was incorrect, or the judgment was, their decision making was incorrect. Now, you can coach easily rule knowledge, you can coach mechanics, but by Christ, it's very difficult to coach judgment. And so you just simply say, hey, listen, from where I'm sitting in the stands, I didn't think that he got there first. But, if you tell me that, just explain to me that charge block, how did you see it? I said, and they come out and they go, the guy got there first, got hit down the middle, it's clearly a blocking foul. Clearly a charging foul. And I go, from where I was, mind you, I'm in a different position than you, I didn't think it was quite that same way. But if you can tell me that, how can I can't challenge that. As long as they've shown you that they understand what they're doing, we can't, unless you've got then you go, well, okay, let's have a look at it later, let's have a look on the video and see whether it was right or wrong. But that's, at the end of the day, even if it is wrong, it's not going to make any difference to them. So their judgment at that time, for whatever reason, was partly incorrect. So we sort of, so I think the idea of them being coachable and being sponges, I think is gone. That doesn't exist.
Also too about looking at the audience that we're talking to. Panel 4 is about facilitating discussion, trying to get them to think a little bit. How did that, based on the pre-game, how did that translate on the floor for you? What are the key areas that you guys think you need that you didn't quite do so well? What are the things you did so well? Okay, getting them to think a little bit more. Panel 5 is a mixture. Top panel 5 are heading in that direction. Might be able to facilitate some discussion there. But as we move down, the focus needs to be more on the one-on-one coaching, especially the kids that are coming up to Big B first year. And I got an opportunity to sit with Murray last year, which I thought was really good. Kids both sides of him, having the iPad, just showing them different things to actually help improve their game, which is really good. And I think we could all do a little bit more of that. That was the coaching side, which was really good. Halftime coaching if required. We are open to some halftime coaching. Okay, but these are some of the key points. It's optional, yes, don't walk in and drop the bomb, right? I don't mind walking in and maybe having a little chat around some little mechanical positioning stuff that we showed on the 2K court today. There might be some halftime coaching. I just find sometimes that waiting until the next game when you've got another half of basketball there, they can actually make that correction in the second half. No, we don't want you to walk in there and go, oh, you missed a massive call down the other end and that was just terrible.
They've still got a ref for
Still
another
got a
half.
referee. Okay, so these are some of the key things. Keep it brief. And this is the bottom one's the most important one. Leave the room on a positive. Okay? This sort of regarding game clips, cut all excellent calls throughout the game for positive reinforcement, cut all major calls of interest for discussion, most valuable when cut up, themed and commented on.
Do you want a
Okay.
voiceover? Tim Mills here.
We can do a voiceover if you like.
He loves to hear the name of who he is.
I had missed it for a few
Rod's going to
years.
get up in a minute and actually talk a little bit about posting or clipping, some of the new IT stuff that's out there that you're probably not aware of. And this is the bit we want to spend a little bit of time on, the assessment. Every referee that walks into the stadium and to go to referee a game, they are both a 7. They are 7 when they arrive. Okay? The only way that 7 goes down is obviously they start making some errors or there's some issues with their mechanics, signals, but everyone's a 7 when they're walking through the door. Okay, so that's the overall rating. Everyone's a 5 when they walk through the door. right? And then we work backwards from there. Okay? How many people in the room last season gave sevens? How many in the room last year gave ones? Okay. So Bill and I were actually having this discussion the other day. Did you say you gave sevens?
No.
I said I probably would give a 7, right? And he said I wouldn't give a 7. I go, would you give a 1? He goes, no. And we both agreed we wouldn't give 1. I said, would you give a 2? And I go, I probably wouldn't give a 2 either.
So really all we come down to is
3 to 6.
Right? So hence the reason for the discussion. Everyone's a 7 when they arrive, everyone's a 5 when they arrive, and they bump down there from there. What I was doing, I was saying average was 3. How many people in the room are doing that? Average was 3, and I work either side of that. Okay? Now we've got some inconsistencies already, because some start at 7, some start at 3. But we want to do a little bit of work with that in the pre-season, as we discussed. Here, with all the clips and all those sorts of things, and again, Rob will talk a little bit about later how you upload clips and do those sorts of things. We would like to see the clips. And what we're going to do on our Facebook page, everything's going to be for education. Okay, so we want to get clips up there and give you guys, so Glenn Hall cuts a clip on a VJBL game, whatever it may be, we might get that clip and throw it up there and go, hey, let's have a discussion about this, let's get a general consensus of what do we think about this call. So you're going to see some of these clips up there. Okay? So it's really
And also
important.
more to the point about how would you coach this referee?
Yeah, how would you coach that?
You know, in that sort of scenario.
Yep. So that's a little bit about the clips. If you do see clips up there, it's only for education purposes. We do exactly the same with the referees as well. Okay, but we want to try and work harder to get you guys on the same page. The other one was actually looking at once a month, just a quarter of basketball. Just throw it up, and we'd like you guys to post your comments based on what you think are the coaching points and what score you give them. So we start working together a little bit more rather than working individually. Okay, so there's some of the ideas.
We'll also work on sort of trying to send some ideas of how you can actually coach, because this is really my big bugbear, is that we're all able to pick out mistakes, but we're all not that good at being able to tell them how to overcome that mistake. And that's a skill in itself, you know, like, okay, so somebody gets the travel incorrectly and they do it 3 times. How do you coach them to get better at identifying travels? Give me an example. What do you do?
But give yourself more vision, step back. Tell
So
them
you
to-
may suggest, okay, that there might be too close to the plate.
Check
What
the
else?
rule knowledge, the rule knowledge might not be there.
Correct? I reckon that's probably the first thing you check on. Anything else? What else?
Identifying pivot foot.
What does that mean?
So can they correctly identify which foot was the pivot foot?
And what is it? I hear that all the time. Identify the pivot foot. I'm bucket fine. What does that mean? What does it mean? Break it down. I'm not being stupid.
Find out what they
But what
know.
pardon? No. But what I'm talking about, identifying the pivot foot means this, because we assume that they know what identifying the pivot foot means, and to half these people it doesn't. So what we're saying is, okay, when they gather the ball or gain control of the ball, you establish in your head their right foot is their pivot foot. So you're saying in your mind, your right foot's the pivot foot. Now, if I lift it and put it back down again and I have the ball, I've travelled. So we've got to really break it down into more coaching sort of aspects. And that's not easy, I promise you. It's very difficult to identify. It's easy for us to identify the error. It's very difficult to actually try and give them some coaching tips. You know, now you can give them coaching tips with regards to dealing with players or coaches, because you can say, hey, here's an idea, why don't you try this or why don't you try that? I've seen some other people use this and so on and so on. That's not so bad to coach, but it's more difficult with the judgment. That's why I've said I find coaching judgment is so hard, because you can't give them any, you can give them little tips that may or may not work for them.
You
Pardon?
can't coach judgment until you understand what's running through their head, which requires conversation.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the facilitating of the discussion in the first place. And then the judgment, thing is, I guess, is through experience. The more times you get experience of those sort of decisions and whatever that you have to make, the better off you can become.
Bill's just touched on calling, which is the first one. These are the key focuses we'd like you guys to coach on this season. Okay, well, we may update these throughout the season on our Facebook page and those sorts of things, but these are the key areas we'd like you guys to coach on. The consistency piece is really looking at a foul being called at one end and not being called at the other. It's really that simple. They called the trouble at one end and they didn't call the trouble at the other, and they're identical plays. Okay, and we're talking not first quarter, last quarter, we're talking within maybe a 5-minute time frame where there was similar the classic ones going to the bucket at the other end, guy gets cleaned up, no call, come down this end, we get a foul. Okay, they're good discussion things. The third one's the big one for us this year. And Bill spent a bit of time on it when we're talking to the referees, is the communication piece. And I would like you guys to spend a little bit more time with the referees in the post-game around the communication, the dialogue between the coach and the referee, or the player and the referee. Or what did you say? Why did it escalate to a point that it got out of control? Okay, so we'd like you guys to spend a little bit more time in the post-game talking communication. And we are looking at a communication video that we're trying to put together, which will include Grant Wallace and also Bill. We're going to try and put a video together around that's going to help communication with referees. And also to that video will also go to coaches and how they can communicate with referees. So we are looking at that as well. Okay, but obviously the other two is the player-coach behaviour and just really making sure, like we talked about on the 2PR, the clear signals to the table, those sorts of things are very important, using the voice at the table. We talked about the referee job form that they complete. It's on us too. It's not just about you guys. This job form is really about Bus Victoria personnel, which encompasses the TOD and also encompasses our referee coaches as employees, so they have an opportunity to give feedback. And yes, as Kaz said before, we will read between the lines. Don't worry, it's not a thing, but it is an opportunity to look at some development trends and have a look at that as well. The venue report is something the referees also fill out as well. Encouraged to fill out, which is around the venue, the dressing room, the player coaches, all those, anything to do with the actual game. Once they complete that, they hit that, and then that just goes directly to Joe.
What happens with those reports on venues?
Sorry?
What happens with those reports on venues?
On what, sorry?
Venue reports. To the reports on the venues?
Venues go straight to Joe, and Joe will then deal with, talk to the leagues directly.
Because most of the stadiums, the Division 2...
Yeah, some of the venues aren't very good.
Poor guys go in there, and Keilor, for example, that's the actual storeroom where they sell their clothes from.
And this all comes back, and the ones that we received last year on the venue reports, they were actioned through Bill. Okay, but we need to encourage the referees, and if you guys are in post games with them and going, this is a broom closet, whatever it may be, encourage them to complete the form. Okay, because we do action those as they come through. We look at them and go, well, you know, or we may go back to Big V or BJVL and then they'll talk to the associations directly. Okay, referee disputes, just so you guys know what happens from there. If a referee receives your report and they're not happy with it, first point of contact is back to you. Okay, so if they come to us and go, you know, Chris Murray gave me a bad report and therefore I want to have something done about it, we will encourage that referee to go back to you first. And I always say this, step 2, make every effort. At the end of the day, if you've got to change the scores, change the scores. It doesn't make any difference. If you have a dialogue with your referees and you believe that they're in the right and they have a case, change your scores if you have to. Okay. Step 3, if they've got a problem, then they're to email Nathan Williams, and then he'll deal with it from there. They'll go to Bill, and then Bill will sort what steps to take from there.
How do you change the score?
Well, you just let us know, and we'll fix it up in the background. Yeah, just email us and let us know. Okay, we are getting there, guys.